Hello and welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you are new here. Today I have the perfect cold weather crochet tutorial, and that is this gorgeous scarf that I made using a bunch of scrap yarn. It's a perfect way to use up that leftover yarn, and it also would make a great gift for a loved one for Christmas or even a birthday. I love the way that crochet scarves look, but personally I can't stand making them. I find it to be quite boring, but this scarf itself actually works up quite quickly, and the stitch pattern is quite stimulating to work on. So I found this one to be really fun to make, and the tassels at the bottom are just so cute. So here is the tutorial for how to make this adorable scarf. For this project, I will be using an array of weight 4 acrylic yarn, and I will be changing colors in every single row. So I picked out a lot of different colors that all look good together. And then I will also be using a 5mm crochet hook. So I'm going to go ahead and pick our very first color, which I'm going to start with this blue here. So I'm going to start by casting on with this blue yarn. And then I'm just going to go ahead and make one chain that is the desired length of my scarf, not the width, but the length. So I'm going to go ahead and just keep chaining until this is long enough that I'm happy with it and it's the length of a normal scarf. Whatever number that you do end up chaining, you want to make sure it is divisible by the number 3. So I went ahead and did a chain of 195, which is going to get me a nice long scarf. So now we're going to go ahead and do our very first row. So into those first 3 chains, I'm going to place a half double crochet. So we're going to do 3 stitches here of half double crochet, like so. I'm then going to go ahead and chain 3. And now I'm going to go down to the chain, and I'm going to skip these next 3 chain stitches. So 1, 2, 3, and then into that 4th chain, I'm going to insert a half double crochet. And then we're going to do 3 half double crochets. I've already done 1, so I'm going to do 2 more half double crochets, one after the other. And then again, I'm going to go ahead and chain 3, 2 and 3. I'm going to go down to the chain. I'm going to skip the next 3 chain stitches. Into that 4th chain stitch, I'm going to place a half double crochet. And again, we're going to need 3 half double crochets, so I'm going to do 2 more, like so. So now I have those 3 half double crochets, and then going to go ahead and chain 3. And then going back down to the chain, I'm going to skip these next 3 stitches. Into that 4th stitch, I'm going to insert my hook, and then we're going to do 3 half double crochets. So now I'm going to go ahead and work my way through this very first row using the same exact stitch pattern that I just demonstrated, and I'll see you once I reach the end of this row. Here is that first row completed with the chain 3 and the 3 half double crochets, altering back and forth. I'm now going to go ahead and switch colors, so we're going to cast off here at this end. So to cast off, I just chain 1 and then I cut my yarn, and I always leave a bit of a tail when I cut my yarn, and then I just go ahead and pull my hook and then pull that yarn tight. So I'm going to go ahead and turn my work, and now right into this first stitch where we cast it off on, I'm going to go ahead and insert my hook right into that first stitch. And I'm going to go ahead and bring my new yarn through. I'm just going to bring that right through the stitch. And then I'm going to go ahead and chain 5. So the first 2 chains are simply to match the height of the half double crochets. Every single row you're going to start with 2 chains. And then the 3 additional chains that make up 5 chains are just because we are currently on top of our 3 half double crochets. So we need to have 3 chains to match that. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to yarn over, and we're going to place 3 half double crochets here where we have those 3 chains in the previous row. I'm going to go below these 3 chains to the first chain of our project, and I'm going to pick up that very first chain here that we skipped over in that previous row, and I'm just going to place a half double crochet. Like so. And see how that sort of sandwiches the 3 chain from the previous row in between the 2? So that's exactly what you want. I'm then going to yarn over, and into the next chain stitch here of that very first chain that we made, I'm going to insert my hook, and we're going to do another half double crochet. And then I'm going to do the same thing with that very last of the 3 chains and complete a half double crochet. So now you can see we have our 3 half double crochets into that very first chain that we made, and then the little chain 3 from the previous row is sandwiched in between those stitches. So I'm then going to go ahead and chain 3. And then I'm going to skip over these 3 half double crochets of our previous row. So now we're faced with this section again where we have our chain 3 of the previous row, and then they're chained from the very beginning of the project. So again, I'm just going to insert my hook right into that first empty chain here at the very first chain, and I'm going to go ahead and place a half double crochet. I'm going to do the exact same thing for the next 2 chain stitches, so therefore we have 3 half double crochets here, like so. And once I've completed that, I'm going to go ahead and chain 3. And then repeat that exact same process by skipping those 3 stitches and then going over to the chain section and placing 3 half double crochets, each one inserted right into that chain from the very start of our project, like so. So it should be looking like this, and now I'm going to repeat that exact same stitch pattern of just chain 3, 3 half double crochets. I'm going to repeat that same pattern all the way down for the rest of this row, and I'll see you once I reach the end of this row. So now at the end of this row, I have to chain 3, but now there's nowhere for me to place those 3 half double crochets because we've reached the end of the row. So instead, I'm just going to place 1 half double crochet right here in the very last stitch in order to just seal that chain 3 back to the project, like so. I'm then going to go ahead and cast off with this color, so I'm going to chain 1 and then cut my yarn. Again, I did leave a bit of a tail behind here, and then I'm just going to go ahead and just pull my hook, pulling the yarn through and securing it in place. I'm then going to turn my work, and now I'm going to go ahead and insert my hook right into that very first stitch of the row and then pull that gray yarn through. And then we always start a new row by chaining 2. So I'm going to chain 2. And now the very first thing I'm faced with here in the beginning of the row is our chain 3 section. So I'm going to go ahead and start with 3 half double crochets. Just like before, I'm going below the yellow chain 3 down to the previous row where we have these blue half double crochets, and we have 3 half double crochets below the chain 3. So I'm going to pick up the first of those 3 stitches and I'm going to place 1 half double crochet, and then right into the next one I'm going to do another half double crochet, and just like we did in that previous row, I'm placing 3 half double crochets into the 3 previous stitches from the row prior to that last row. So into the blue row here, I'm placing 3 half double crochets, therefore sandwiching that yellow chain in between the 2 stitches. I'm then going to go ahead and chain 3. And now here we have our 3 half double crochets. I'm going to skip over those and go over to our next chain 3 section, where I'm then again going to pick up the first of those blue stitches, and I'm going to go ahead and place 3 half double crochets into those 3 blue stitches from the previous row. And then again after that, I'm going to go ahead and chain 3. I'm then going to skip over those 3 half double crochets till I reach that next chain section. I'm then going to place 3 half double crochets into the half double crochets of the row before. So it should look like this. And then you're just going to go ahead and repeat that exact same pattern in every single row. You're just going to be placing half double crochets into the stitches before the previous row. So underneath the yellow chain, you're going to be placing your half double crochets, or whatever color you're working with, sandwiching that chain in between the stitches. And you're going to go ahead and do this with every single row, and just go ahead and do as many rows as you want to until it reaches the width that you desire. And I'll see you at the very last row of the scarf, where we will do something a little bit different. I have now completed several rows here of my scarf, and I'm happy with the width of this scarf. So now we're going to go ahead and do that very last row, which I'm doing my last row in the exact same color that I started the first row with, because I like to have that symmetry. And now the only thing we're going to be doing differently for this last row is, if you look at the row before it, we have those chain 3 sections which leave quite a big opening, and we don't want to just have these random holes in our finished product. So instead of doing a chain 3 in this last row, I'm going to go ahead and do as normal my 3 half double crochets into those previous half double crochets, like so. And now that I've reached these next 3 half double crochets, where typically I would chain 3 and then skip over them, instead of chaining 3, I'm going to be placing a single crochet into each of these stitches. So then we won't have that loose chain 3 section in that final row, like so. And now we're back to this section here, where just like before, I'm going to go ahead and do my 3 half double crochets, therefore sealing that chain 3 down into the project. And then into these next 3 half double crochets, instead of chaining 3, I'm going to go ahead and place 3 single crochets, 1 into each stitch of that previous row. So there you can see it makes a difference, because this isn't a loose section here, so there's no hole or gap that's going to take place in this last row. So I'm going to go ahead and repeat that same exact stitch pattern all the way down for the rest of this last row of our project. So now at the end of the row, I'm going to go ahead and cast off by just chaining one, cutting my yarn, and then pulling that hook. So now, as you can see on both ends of this project, you're going to have a bunch of loose ends from every single time you switch colors. And you can do two things with this. You can either just go ahead and weave in all of those loose ends, which will take a while, but it'll leave you with a nice clean border. Or what I'm going to do to save a lot of time is I'm going to turn these loose ends into tassels. So I'm taking the colors I already used for the scarf here, and I cut a couple strips of yarn all about the same length, and that they're long enough when I fold them in half that there's still a good length here for a tassel. And then I'm going to go ahead and just separate these loose ends in groups of 2. And I'm going to go ahead and insert my hook right into this very first row here, like so. And for every tassel, I'm adding 3 additional strands of loose yarn to go along with the 2 loose ends I'm turning into a tassel. So I'm going to take those 3 strands, I'm going to wrap it around my hook and just pull them through that stitch, like so. I'm then going to pull this so that it's even on both ends and it's folded in half, securely attached to that row. So now in this tassel, I have 3 additional strands of loose yarn as well as those 2 loose tail ends from our project. And then I'm just going to go ahead and make a simple knot like this. Like so, like the kind of knot you would make when you're sewing. And I'm going to go ahead and make sure that it's really tight up to the top of my project. So I'm pinching here, keeping it pushed up as I'm pulling the knot tight. So that's right at the base of my project, like so. I'm gonna make sure it's super tight, it's not gonna go anywhere, like so. And there's our first tassel. So I'm gonna move on to the next 2 loose ends, which here I have this yellow and this gray loose end from the next 2 rows. I'm then just going to go ahead and insert my hook right into the end of that row there. And then I'm going to grab my loose yarn that I had cut for this tassel. I'm going to wrap it around the hook securely and then just pull that right through the stitch, like so. I'm then going to pull both ends so that it's even on both ends. I'm making sure that I have both of the tail ends in my tassel as well, so that way they're securely attached. And then just like before, I'm going to go ahead and make the same knot, and then making sure I'm pushing it up towards the base of my project as I tighten it, like so. So there are our first 2 tassels completed. I'm going to go ahead and continue making tassels for every 2 rows on both sides of the scarf, and I'll see you once I'm done with that. Alright, so now I have all of the tassels properly attached here to both ends of my scarf, and I'm going to go ahead and trim them so that they're a nice length, but you can make them as long as you want them to be. I'm going to be doing my tassels at about 6 inches or so, so using a ruler off of here, I'm going to go to about 6 inches, and so I'm just laying them all flat like this. And again, you can decide how long you want the tassels to be. I recommend that you try on the scarf and then just see where you want the tassels to land and then measure that and then go ahead and cut them to that length. So there we have the tassels, and you can just leave it like this and just go ahead and start wearing your scarf. Or if you want it to look more professional, more put together, then I highly recommend that you brush out the tassels at least slightly. So the way I do this is I'm going to take a piece of cardboard and just slide it right underneath the tassels here. And then you're just going to use a pet hairbrush like this one here. I got mine at Walmart for like $3 or $4. And you're just going to very gently brush out the yarn, and after a while you'll start to see it sort of fray up. I always start at the bottom of the yarn and just sort of work my way up, and you can see it's already starting to fluff up here and come undone. So it's going to get that really nice fluffy worn look. This also does help with blending all the different colors together in the tassels to give your scarf a more cohesive look. And then once you've brushed one side, I do recommend that you also flip it over, because you'll see on this side it is a little bit less brushed out. Okay, and so now here you can see a distinctive difference from the brushed out tassels to the not brushed out tassels. And you can see now why I would heavily recommend brushing out the tassels, because it just looks so much better than the non-brushed out yarn here. So now I'm going to go ahead and just brush out the rest of the tassels, and that's going to complete my scarf pattern. And here is the finished scarf. I am so happy with this one and the color palette. I did end up cutting the tassels down about another inch or so after we last talked. So I do like the tassels a little bit shorter like that, and they look gorgeous just completely brushed out. You can see on both ends the brushed out tassels, they're just stunning. And if you haven't already, then please subscribe and like this video. All of your support means so much to me. I cannot wait to continue sharing with you all of these crochet tutorials. I'm hoping to post every week into this Christmas season. I wanted to do like a Vlogmas type thing, but I'm going on vacation for Christmas and it's just not doable. So instead, I'm going to be trying to post a crochet tutorial every week, maybe twice a week. So make sure you subscribe so you get plenty of crochet tutorials. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful Christmas or a wonderful winter season. I'll see you again soon. Goodbye.